Hey guys, welcome back to another show here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Before we get too far along, make sure you hit that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. All you have to do is, there's a little square there, you can subscribe, but make sure you log in. I know it's kind of inconvenient, and I understand if you don't, but I really would like for you to subscribe to my channel. I try to bring you some really great content and to help you learn and get better on the water, and this episode is no different. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to win a bass fishing tournament. I know that's a very broad statement, so this is going to be a three-part series. It's going to include team tournaments, individual tournaments, one-day events, and individual tournaments, multi-day events. I feel like you can break that category down for a bunch of different things, but this particular episode is going to feature team tournaments. 1-2 day, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, there's two of you in the boat and you still both got to catch them and catch 5 every day. So without further ado, let's jump right on into this. You know, before I approach any tournament, one of the very first things I do is look at what lake I'm going to. I feel like it's always good to know what lake you're going to, exactly where it is, and what's going on. So I have a very simple process, what I do when I'm going to a lake, whether I'm familiar with it or not. First thing is I simply just get on Google and I search the lake. I search techniques, tournament results, things that are going on the lake. If there's a massive bass kill, I want to know that that's going on. If there's the fish are spawning and somebody's won a big tournament, let's just say Danny Isles caught 49 pounds. I want to know that he caught 49 pounds. I think that's important information for me going into that event, to know that that kind of quality of fish is either A, on the lake, or B, is attainable. So that's a very important aspect, is Google that stuff and know what's going on. You know, that's just knowing just a part of it. You know, another thing that I like to search is a water data. I want to know if the water's high or low. That's really important when making my decisions. If the water's high, I know there's water in the bushes. It's flooded a little bit, so there's going to be more fish shallow, because those fish like to flock up shallow when they do that. You know, another thing I like to do is see if I can find what the water temp might be. So if you're in the spawn and you're going to be there next week and the water temp's around the 60s, I know that those fish might be spawning when I get there. But if the water temp's in the 75 to 80 range, I know those fish are done. They will not be spawning. So before I even make a cast on that lake, I kind of have an idea of what is going on, and that can be the most important thing that you can figure out. So I've looked at techniques, I've looked at all these results and water data. That's just part of the process of dissecting the lake. So once I figure out what's going on, we'll throw a hypothetical situation out there. I'm fishing a lake where the fish are on transitions, and what I mean by transition is it goes from steep to flat, and these particular fish are in the post-spawn time frame. I'm going to be looking for shad spawn early in the morning. I'm going to be looking for a lot of different things. In this case, I'm going to look for things that I like to do. So in the shad spawn, I like to fish marinas. I like to fish docks. So I'm going to start searching out the best population of docks, or places where I think it might go down. The shad spawn's going down. That can be on riprap in some cases. That can be on flooded grass like water willow or hydrilla or hay grass. I mean, so you can't fish the whole lake because it all might look good. So that's why I like to find things that I really enjoy fishing. Shad spawn, I like marinas, I like docks. So that's the first thing that I go look for. So I'll mark those and I'll name them on Google Earth, and I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I think that's very, very important when you're looking for that particular technique. Now, if we're looking post-spawn, I'm looking for, let's just say in cases of rocks, I'm looking for the small rocks go to big rocks, or some type of change in the rock formation, and you can tell that on Google Earth. You can tell where the clay goes from clay to sand, and from sand to rock, and from small rock to big rock. You can see all of those cool things on Google Earth. And I spend hours and hours on Google Earth trying to find something different. Trying to see if it's been uncovered or there's something that I haven't seen before. I want to see those things. So now, We've broken down the Google searches. We've broken down Google Earth. And I know it's kind of a brief explanation of Google Earth and stuff because it is much more advanced than that. And maybe I'll do a video later on exactly what I'm breaking down on Google Earth, but I think it's most important to know that I do it and the most important things that I look for. So we've done those two things. Now is to figure out how big the lake is. Let's just say, for instance, I'm on a Toledo Bend. Toledo Bend is in East Texas, and it is ginormous. It's like 90-something miles long. Thousands and thousands of acres of water. One thing that I've always learned, and I grew up there now, one thing I learned was don't spread yourself out too much. What I like to do on a place like that is I like to pick about a 5-mile section of the lake, and that's the 5-mile section of the lake that I'm going to stay in. Now, it might not be going down in that 5-mile section, but that is the 5-mile section that I'm going to figure out, because if I go here on the south end, like in Howson Bay, which is far down south, and then I run up to the far reaches of the north end, I'm 60 miles. And there's no way I can cover that amount of water efficiently. So, if you really pay attention to those reports and what's going on, you can actually dissect exactly where those fish are going to be. And I think, I know I've done that on the 2 wins that I've had. On one on the FLW Tour when I was fishing that, and the Costa Series Championship, is I was actually breaking down these places before I even got there. And I think that's one thing that is important. So now we're talking about a team event here. So I would do it for a team event or an individual event. And you're going to see some duplicate features of how I break down water going into an event. But hey, let's jump into the team aspect. You know, this is a team tournament. So let's just say Bradley and I are jumping into a team tournament. You know, one thing that I like to do in team tournaments is to never do the same thing. I don't care if he's catching one every single cast. I don't like doing the exact same thing as my team partner. I'll give you an example. If I'm going down the bait, now granted this popping perch is just wrecked. It doesn't even have its tails left. I've caught so many fish on this thing. But if I'm going down the bank and I'm catching them on a popping perch in front of Bradley, and that's my team partner, Bradley Hallman. He's on YouTube as well. Make sure to give him a follow. But I'm going down the bank catching him on this. I want him flipping behind me. I want him throwing a big bait. I want him trying to target the biggest fish in the lake. Because my most success in team tournaments, and I've had quite a bit of success in team tournaments, has been from one guy trying to catch as many fish as possible and the other guy trying to catch one fish. That one 7 or 8, 10-pound bass, throwing big baits. You know, one big bait that comes into play is a Strike King 8.0. It's a big square bill crankbait. That's one of my favorites to throw around people. A popping perch. I want to throw stuff that targets big ones. I mean, even a sexy dog. I mean, a sexy dog, it's not a giant bait, but it catches giant bass. And there's certain times that whoever picks up that bait is gonna see the most success to catch that 1 or 2 larger than average fish that are gonna pay off in the long run. And you know, we actually Bradley and I actually had a tournament here recently where I picked up a whopper plopper and I caught 2 of our biggest fish on the whopper plopper. And that, I think, is a big key in team tournaments, is never settling for, you know, both of us just catching 15 pounds. Like, that doesn't help us. I want to figure out a way that I catch 15 pounds and Bradley catches 2 for 12 pounds, and together they're a 20-something pound bag. And that is the difference maker in team tournaments, is never doing the same thing. Now, granted, you know, a guy could go pick up in these same tournaments, he could go pick up a Strike King Ocho and throw it on a Texas rig and throw these baits to catch small fish, and that's great, and you're going to have a good time. But if you're focused on trying to win the tournament, you're doing the wrong thing. Another example, if you're fishing grass, and we'll just say on Sam Rayburn, and the guy in the front of the boat is just wearing them out on a lipless crankbait, like a red-eyed chat or rattle trap, and they're just boom, 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 and they're catching 2.5, 3-pounder after 2.5, 3-pounder. Well, are they catching any big ones? No. And that's when, in the back of the boat, I would actually pick up a hybrid hunter or a thunder cricket with a big trailer on it. I want to catch a big one. I think that's what a lot of people kind of forget sometimes, is they get so locked in on this mindset of like, let's just go try to catch as many fish as possible, when that is the wrong mindset in team tournaments. One person needs to be trying to catch big ones, and the whole day switching the things out, trying to figure out what the next best bait is going to be while the other one is catching fish. And it levels itself out over time. And I think that's something that we miss. In this video, you've had this video of me catching fish behind me the entire time and missing fish and whatever. I'm actually practicing for an event in this video, and I'm flipping down a rock bank with a big jig. This happens to be a team event, and the whole time I've got my son Kane behind me throwing a square bill crankbait. So he's the one that's trying to catch the numbers, while I'm the one that's trying to get the big bite. Well, sometimes I'm going to get the numbers too while he gets the big bite. In the reference of the square bill, I actually thought he was going to get more bites than I would, but I actually in turn got more bites flipping the jig. So you never really know what the best thing's going to be for that day unless you try it. If you get too locked in on these one-day derbies, you're never going to know the true potential of that day unless you're switching around trying to figure out exactly what could be bigger and better that particular day. Now, to go back to the beginning, in the timeline of breaking down water and knowing what's going on that particular body of water, if I know that those fish are on ledges, it kind of simplifies things. I know that I'm going to be throwing deep diving crankbaits and things like that. So, you just really have to pay attention to what's going on. I can't stress enough is paying attention to conditions. And maybe one of you just fish what you've been catching them on in practice, while the other one's just adapting the entire day to the conditions. Not necessarily adapting to what you're doing, but adapting to conditions, whether it's flipping when the sun comes out or throwing moving baits when it's cloudy. Switching those baits up and rotating through baits will actually get you more wins in team tournaments. And I can tell you right now, that's how you win team tournaments, is working together but individually. You both have to have a path that you have to go down, and both of you have to execute it perfectly. If you do those few things, you're going to see more and more success in team tournaments, and you're going to figure out how to win them in the long run. Thank you guys for watching this video. This is just part one of a 3-part series that I'm going to do. This is the team tournament segment of this event. I appreciate you watching. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. And I really hope this helps you win the very next team tournament that you're in. And if it does, make sure you post it below. Thank you, guys.